How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about a strange incident that happened over on Outnumbered on Fox News. The hosts of that show are Harris Faulkner, Melissa Francis, and Marie Harf, pretty much in their order. Their guest was Newt Gingrich. He brought up George Soros being involved with some of these elections financially, and that's when things got really, really weird. Now, before I go any further, let's go ahead and roll that clip. In this clip, you'll see what I was talking about with some more context. After we get done watching that, I'll talk about what was said and done and not said and done in that particular clip. Then I'll give you my 2 cents, my deep, detailed analysis, and then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Destroyed by this violence.
Yeah, it's so true. They represent everybody, right? Speaker Gingrich, I know you have a final thought for us.
Yeah, look, the number one problem in almost all these cities is George Soros elected left-wing, anti-police, pro-criminal district attorneys who refuse to keep people locked up. Just yesterday, they put somebody back on the street who's wanted for 2 different murders in New York City. You cannot solve this problem, and both Harris and Biden have talked very proudly about what they call progressive district attorneys. Progressive district attorneys are anti-police, pro-criminal, and overwhelmingly elected with George Soros' money, and they're a major cause of the violence we're seeing because they keep putting the violent criminals back on the street.
I'm not sure we need to bring George Soros into this.
I was going to say you get the last word, Speaker.
He paid for it. I mean, why can't we discuss the fact that millions of dollars he spent?
I agree with Melissa. George Soros doesn't need to be a part of this conversation.
Okay. So it's verboten.
All right, we're going to. Okay, we're going to move on.
All right, so you saw that, you heard that. Now, what in the world was that? What was that, Fox News? That was my first reaction. Before anything about George Soros and the election and him being involved financially, what was that interaction? That was just really, really weird and strange. Now, I understand it could be because everything is virtual. They're not in the same studio, miscommunication, delays and lags. I understand that part. But it was really weird, aside from just miscommunication and over talking. You got Marie Harf talking about, oh, let's not bring up Soros, and same thing Melissa Francis. Now, Harris Faulkner, the main host of the show, in my humble opinion, she was just trying to say, I'll give you the last word. But they were just saying, no Soros. But why? Did they get it in their ear from Rupert Murdoch's people, his sons and their goons working at Fox News? Don't bring up George Soros? I don't understand. Because if you go to Fox News's website, there are plenty of articles that have evidence, hardcore facts, that show that George Soros is involved with elections all over the country. And it's not a partisan thing. You can find that same information all over the internet. You can find it on CNN, Axios, Washington Post. You can find it everywhere. It's not a secret. He has plenty of PACs that he's involved in. He has an organization called Open Society Foundation. Then he has Democracy PAC, Justice and Safety, or some kind of PAC. It's about at least 2 to 3 PACs that I know of that he's involved with directly, and other ones that he's involved with indirectly. Okay, this is a fact. It's not anything, it's not some kind of conspiracy theory. And why would you not bring George Soros up when you're talking about lawlessness in the nation? Because let's be clear, what Soros does is try to unseat people to bring in far leftists. This is what he does. Even those that are Democrat, he'll unseat them to put in an even more far left person. A prime example is AOC. Oh yeah, Soros is involved with that all the way, because you got to ask yourself, how did Joe Crowley, who was like, I don't know how many times incumbent, he'd been there like 20, 30 years. How did he get unseated by a bartender? You tell me how that happened. How does that happen at all? Okay, you don't just come in and say, okay, I'm gonna just unseat him. He goes unchallenged, unopposed. I'm gonna just, nah, there's big money behind that, all right? We all know that she's part of, or was at least part of, Justice Democrats and also brand new Congress. Those 2 organizations, PACs, whatever you want to call it, were funded, or at least one of them was, by The Young Turks by Chink Uygur. Chink Uygur is part of the Young Turks, obviously, and they're part of the media consortium, which include other so-called progressive stations like Democracy Now!, Mother Jones, far leftist rags like that. And that particular organization, the media consortium, is backed by George Soros. This is a fact. So when you see all that money flowing in to people like AOC and many others, another one was Jon Ossoff back in 2018 when he was running to try and defeat Karen Handel in Georgia for that open seat that was left by Tom Price, because Tom Price left and went to the administration in D.C. as a Health and Human Services Secretary. When he left, there was a vacancy, and $8.2 million went into that race just for Jon Ossoff by himself. I'm not sure how much money Karen Handel got, although Ossoff lost. That was a lot of money. That's George Soros money, okay? And there are people that are in office right now that we can point to and we can see what the effects of them being in office are. Aside from AOC, one of the biggest ones, okay? Look at all those Amazon jobs that were lost because she's there, and many other negative impacts of AOC. Beyond that, you have Kim Foxx over in Chicago. Now, does the name sound familiar? She was backed by Soros. She got like 2.1 from Soros linked funds or PACs, whatever you want to call it. This is the person that got Jussie Smollett off, didn't get him any kind of jail time. You got a whole fake hate crime he staged, right? And she let him off. Not only did she let Jussie Smollett off, she's letting plenty of violent criminals off. Guys that should be in the penitentiary, guys that should not be free. She's letting off with basically slaps on the wrist, which is why you have a very high crime rate in Chicago and all over the country and some of these places where you got far leftists in office, all right? Another one was Kim Gardner in St. Louis. This is the person that lets off violent criminals, gangbangers, dope boys, slaps on the wrist. Okay, you went to shoot into occupied dwelling, graze a 3-year-old ear, not kill the person, not kill the little baby, but graze their ear. Okay, you get 5 years in the penitentiary and you might get out early on good behavior. That's kind of what she does over in St. Louis. Or she might just totally refuse to prosecute cases that she prosecuted because you have very violent and dangerous people. She's also a very anti-police person, talking about Kim Gardner in St. Louis. And the McCloskeys, the reason why they're going to court and they're being charged for defending themselves on their property is because of Kim Gardner, all right? A lot of Soros money was behind her as well. There's Soros money all over the nation, and I have plenty of articles, plenty of sources in the box below. Okay, I think Jose Garza in Texas, another one, Soros backed. This is not a conspiracy theory, folks. This is just reality. This is what it is. I don't understand why Fox News would try to hide that reality when they themselves have reported on it. I have plenty of articles straight from foxnews.com that say George Soros funds X, Y, and Z. And you got to look to a guy like him to understand what's going on. Now, granted, it's not just him. I'm not going to say, oh, it's only George Soros. He's the only reason why things are out of control. Of course not. There are other people that are involved, just like George Soros, people that got big money, that want to see things go a particular way. And of course, you got to have the far leftists in office that'll do certain things. All right. Look at Portland, Oregon. If the mayor, Ted Wheeler, was backed by Soros, I would not be surprised. Would you? If not Soros, then someone else that's similar to him as far as having these deep pockets of letting people that are on the very far left to get in. All right. It's not even enough to be just a regular Democrat like Joe Crowley was up there in New York. You got to be a far leftist. You got to push all kind of crazy communism and whatnot. This is subversion through financial means, in my humble opinion. Now, I'm not sure what the law is behind this, but George Soros and plenty of other people are involved. It's a fact. Now, some are going to say, oh, you're being anti-Semitic because he's Jewish. And that's not even about that. I don't care what race he is or whatever. The fact is that this guy is funding far leftist people. That's a fact. Not only him, but those that have money like him, those that give to these PACs and funds and whatnot like him. This is a fact. This is part of the deep state swamp. It's not just those that are in office, it's those that get them in office. That's part of the swamp as well. Okay, it's funny because the very people that say they don't want money in politics have no issue taking that George Soros money, all right? like I said, there's no way that AOC as a bartender would have become the next congresswoman unseating a long-term incumbent in Joe Crowley if not for Soros money. Like they had a whole documentary. There's millions upon millions of dollars to be made on the left, which is why when they say those on the right, people like me are, what they say, grifters. That's a cool word. It's like grifters. I don't make anywhere near the money that a George Soros has, that he spends on these people to get him in office. And then when they get there, you think it's just, they're not getting any kind of kickbacks, nothing like that. Oh, and speaking about Soros and AOC and funding for them, it's not just AOC who got in based upon that money and just as Democrats and brand new Congress. I think all of the squad got in like that. Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, the whole thing. If not all of them, the majority of them. There's a whole movie about a lot of these people. And it's not just in blue states. It's red states, Mississippi, Texas, California, Illinois, Missouri, New York, Florida, everywhere. This is what's happening right now. The very same ones that say election interference, you're trying to interfere with the election by Russia paying like $4,000 in Facebook ads or something stupid like that. They give out millions of dollars for each individual race. John Ossoff, $8.2 million for a House seat in Georgia. All right. This is a fact. It's not anything fiction at all. And the appointment of these people, the election of these people have dangerous and disastrous results. When you don't have criminals getting locked up in your particular state, your city, your town, or wherever you live, look to those that are in power. If they're getting caught red-handed with dope, with pills, with guns, with bodies on them and whatnot, and they don't go to jail, they get out free, they get out with no bail in New York, you can basically assault somebody with a pistol, beat him in the head, almost kill him, and then get off and you're on recognizance, no bail. I mean, you're going to see the crime rate spike. And the people that are in power have the power to be able to do that. That's just what it is. So your vote most certainly does count. And to ignore George Soros is really ridiculous. But as I close, I want to say this. I don't know what that was all about from Fox. Maybe they give an explanation like Harris Faulkner did before when they were on air and showing a press conference and cut away from it when there was a video of a lot of the violence happening in the country. And people were outraged, like, why'd you cut away from that? Fox News sucks. And then Harris explained it. Oh, it's a daytime. We can't show it. Okay, fair enough. How you explain this whole thing with George Soros? Is that too much for daytime TV? Is that a conspiracy theory when you guys over at Fox have written about it before? What's going on with that? I'll await their explanation, but I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Is it a conspiracy theory to say that George Soros and many other wealthy people are involved with elections, getting in people like AOC and Kimberly Fox and Kim Gardner and Jose Garza and everybody else? If that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. Or is it not a conspiracy theory? It's a big fact. We know what's going on with all this money, who's spending it, and why. If that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. You guys know where I stand. Soros and a lot of other guys just like him are involved with the election financially. It's a fact. You can see plenty of articles straight from I'm talking about local sources, national sources, left, right, indifferent, independent, everybody. This is a fact. You can look it up right now. Don't take my word for it. Look it up for yourself. Okay. Google it, DuckDuckGo it, Bing it, whatever you can. You'll be able to find it very easily. These are not hidden facts at all. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.